Welcome back, sports fans, particularly you football fans. We're back with the Week 10 pick'ems. We've made it to double digits, gentlemen. Welcome. I'm your host, Chris Billings, joined by Nicholas J. Kerr, Tony Parlay Reyes. How you doing, gentlemen?
Doing good, Chris.
Tony, still just happy over there?
I'm happy to be here, as always. I'll add that in there.
Good to hear. Good to hear. All right. Last week, week 9, Nick got himself a win, 8-6. I followed up with 50% fair, 7-7. Tony, bottom of the basement, 6-8. It's about goddamn time. Finally. In terms of the season, though, Tony still leads with an impressive 58.5%. I'm in second with 48.8%. Nick is a cellar dweller with 45.1%. Hey, overall, we're still picking 4.5 out of 10 games correctly. Yeah. Not bad, Nick. I'd like to see how the rest of you do. That's right. It's easy to judge us.
Yeah.
All right, this week, week 10, our bye teams are the Eagles, fresh off a win against the Cowboys, Chiefs, fresh off a Germany win off the Dolphins, the Rams, who they need a bye week, and then also the Dolphins, who were in Germany last week. So, let's get into it. All right, we're back in Germany. We have the Colts at the Pats, really not at the Pats, but Indy favored by 1.5 points. Quickly go through this. Nick, who do you have in this game?
I'm taking Colts.
Tony?
Same.
I'm also taking the Colts. So, going forward, we have the Saints at the Vikings in Minneapolis. Saints are favored by 2.5 points. Tony, or actually this one, start with Nick, who has a flippin' it.
Let's see. Heads. Home team. Vikings.
All right. Tony, who do you have?
I'm also taking the Vikings.
All right. That leaves me on a lonely island. I'm taking Derek Carr and the Saints. Okay. We have Tennessee Titans at the Buccaneers. Buccaneers been struggling as of late. Tampa Bay favored by 1.5 points. We'll jump back to Nick and the coin.
Tails. I'm going Giants.
Giants.
Oh,
okay.
This the wrong game.
Wrong
Titans.
game.
Titans.
Titans. I'm also taking the Titans, Nick. Tony?
Same. Titans family play.
All right. Titans across the board. Next game. Packers at Steelers. Steelers favored by a field goal in Pittsburgh. Tony, we'll start with you on this one.
I'm taking that Steelers team at home.
Nick?
On Pittsburgh.
Unanimous. I'm also taking the Steelers, who've been playing hot. Still have a winning record with Mike Tomlin. All right, next game. Giants. Now Nick can talk about the Giants. Giants and Cowboys divisional matchup in Fort Worth. Dallas favored by 16.5 points. One of the biggest spreads of the season so far. Start with you, Nick. Flipping it.
Tails. Giants again.
All right. Actually taking the Giants this game. All right. Tony, who are you taking?
Taking the Cowboys. Traditional bounce back game after a loss.
16.5 points. That's a lot. All right. I'm also taking the Cowboys on this one. I think they can cover 16.5 points against what's most likely going to be Tommy DeVito playing for the Giants. So that means Nick is on a lonely island. Not bad. You have 16.5 points to keep you warm on that lonely island.
I'll trust the coin.
All right, we have Washington Commanders at the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks looking to bounce back after a big loss to the Ravens last week. Seahawks favored by 6.5 points on this one. Tony, let's start with you.
I'm taking the Seahawks at home. They bounce back big.
All right, Nick.
Yep, Seahawks and the 12th man.
All right. Looks like I'm on a lonely island with this one. I'm going with the Washington Commanders. I have faith in Sam Howell. I think at the very least he can cover this, but my prediction is the Commanders keep this one close, if not win this. So, all right, let's move on. Now for some games we really want to dig into our appetizer games for Sunday. Let's start off first, a little AFC North divisional matchup. We have the Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens favored by 6 points in this game. I'm going to start with myself on this one. You know what? This is just it's going to be a huge game for the Ravens that I think they really need to watch how they approach this game. Right now, as it stands, the Browns are 5-3. Ravens are 7-2, I believe. But Baltimore not had their bye week yet. That's not till week 13. So coming up in their schedule, they have Cleveland Browns, Cincinnati Bengals, and then they have to play in Los Angeles against the Chargers before they go into their bye. This is 3 pretty critical games that start with this one, divisional matchup, and we've already seen with the Ravens them get beat up by the Steelers, another divisional opponent that's not necessarily that good on offense or defense. Yes, they may have TJ Watt, but their defense they're still kind of a bottom third defense. So Ravens now having to go with the top third defense in the Browns. I think this game is going to be a lot closer, and I do see Cleveland covering, if not potentially winning this game. So let's jump over to Nick with this one. Nick, what do you got for us?
I mean, I agree with a lot of the same points that you just made because the Browns and the Ravens, they have 2 of the top defenses in the NFL this year. The Browns, they're only surrendering 234 yards a game, which ranks first. Baltimore's defense, on the other hand, they're leading the league in fewest points allowed. So I think that these defenses are going to cancel each other out, and it's going to all come down to the play of Lamar Jackson and Mr. Massage Man. And right now, Lamar's playing at MVP level through 9 weeks. He leads the league in NFL completion percentage, plus of rushing yards of his quarterback. So I think that I agree with you that this game's going to be close because the Ravens have struggled in division games. Since the start of 2021, they're 6-9 in division games. So I think that the Ravens still do win this, but it's only going to be by like a field goal.
All right. Interesting stat there. All right. Mr. Parlay Reyes, what are your thoughts on this game?
This is a really good game. Really good game. Like Nick was saying, probably 2 of the best defenses in the league going head-to-head. And I want to say Lamar's performance against the Browns earlier this season is kind of like what set the stage for his MVP candidacy this year. He's pretty much been the only quarterback to have very much success against them. The other teams that have beaten the Browns, it's been like a team success or defense or special teams, not really a quarterback shredding them like he has. And I think Chris was the one that touched on this, that Ravens schedule coming up. After they play the Browns, they play the Bengals on a Thursday night game. I think that's going to be very difficult for the Ravens to think about. I think that for them to put all their focus on the Browns, especially after they've already beaten the Browns one time this season. So I could easily see them overlooking the Browns. And the first time they played, I believe PJ Walker was the quarterback. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't Massage Man. And I think he is a slight improvement over PJ Walker, as much as his off-the-field shenanigans have given him this type of reputation. He is an improvement. He should be a little bit better. 6 points feels like far too many in a divisional matchup like that. So I'm in complete agreement with you guys. I think the Browns cover this, and I honestly think the Browns are going to pull off this upset. because this just feels like a bad spot for the Ravens. They've looked great this year, but I feel like the Browns are just going to pull this one off because the Ravens are looking a little bit ahead to that Thursday night matchup against the Bengals.
And they're going to have a come down off a big win off of Seattle as well. So, kind of a precarious 4 weeks for the Ravens right now that they're going to try and navigate. That, hey, we'll revisit in week 13 and see how they did over these games. So, another game that we have here that we wanted to talk about, Falcons at Cardinals. Kyler Murray is finally returning for the Cardinals after a very, very long absence. But Falcons, road favorite on this one, 1.5 points. Tony, we'll kick it off with you on this one. Tell us what your thoughts are on Falcons and Cardinals.
I don't love Kyler Murray playing, but I guess if they're going to clear him, I feel like they're going to go all in on the Kyler Murray experience, and he's gonna be unleashed. He obviously must have shown them something in practice. So I could see him having some plays, making some throws where everyone's just like, whoa, we haven't seen that. We're not ready. They're at home. I think that he's going to play pretty well in this, and he's gonna surprise. And honestly, on the other side of the ball, I just don't like what I'm seeing from Arthur Smith in the Falcons. I know that he was my mustache brethren. He recently shaved, so he's no longer in my family. I see you, Arthur Smith. He doesn't know how to use Bijan Robinson, which seems amazing to say out loud. Like, I don't know how you don't know how to use him. They started Taylor Heineke last game. They lost to Josh Dobbs and the Vikings, who had shown up like an hour before the game and looked at the playbook like you do it like an airplane book or something, and he somehow beat them. So I don't really like what I'm seeing from the Falcons team over there. And I just think everything's coalescing for the Cardinals to get this big win and to celebrate the Kyler Murray return and to be like, yes, everything's good, and we're going to go ahead and be rallying around Kyler Murray. And I think the Cardinals are going to go to pull this one off. 1.5 points. It should be at least a field goal. So give me the Cardinals.
Nick, what are your thoughts on Falcons Cards?
I mean, I'm right there with you, Tony. I'm going to take the Cardinals at home. Both of these teams were on the losing end of things last week. And for Kyler Murray, I'm all about the Kyler Murray experience. Like, I am excited to see it. I think these Cardinal fans are excited to see it. And I think that could swing things for them. And on the spread side of things, this is going to be the 5th time the Cardinals have been the underdog at home. They've covered on 3 of the past 4. And with the Falcons, they're 1-2 on the road this year. So I'm going to stick with that Cardinals pick.
All right. So in terms of the Cardinals, they're 1-8 right now. They did get rid of Josh Dobbs. I think that was a signal to everyone of, yeah, we're going to proceed with Kyler Murray. But also, I think this Kyler Murray, I think it's more of just a showcase. It's showing the league what his potential is right now after, like I said, that long absence, that, hey, he's still the Kyler Murray of old. So I see them using him to the best of their extent and to the best of his abilities, because I think they're going to show him off so they can get some trade value here at the end of the season for the 2024 draft. With that said, Arthur Smith, a lot of the beef that people have with him is that he has had pushback in terms of his usage of Desmond Ridder, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, and his excuse was, you don't know our system, you don't know the complications that go into all of this and all the things that everyone has to learn, blah, blah, blah. Here comes Josh Dobbs that's literally practicing his cadence for the first time with the offensive line during this game, beats him. So much to all that preparation and scheme work and all that, and I think that's ultimately what did Arthur Smith under, was that, yeah, an unprepared quarterback came in and beat you after you told us, after you condescended to all of us how complicated all of this was. So, score 1 for the fantasy managers on this one. Score 1 for the Cardinals on this. I think they win this game. Kyler Murray has a big return, and they beat the Falcons.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Do we see a little bit of this Josh McDaniels personality with Arthur Smith? Because that's a little bit when you were describing that. That's kind of what it was sounding like to me when you were describing how he was talking to them about the players. I was like, this sounds like Josh McDaniels. This sounds like Josh McDaniels, Devontae Adams. This is very eerie parallels there. But
I'm not going to answer your question, but I'm going to tell you this, that sometimes some of these coaches just don't open your mouth. Like, for Arthur Smith, he went from, like, oh, this guy looks like a legit X's and O's guys, and the Falcons, like, they got a guy here. And within, 4 weeks, that narrative is completely changed because he opened his mouth. And, like, yeah, like, we could have overlooked some of the weird decisions had he just, like, kept quiet about it, moved on, and, you know, potentially here at the end of the season, maybe been in play to win that division. But now, like, all the focus is on him. He's on the hot seat. He put himself there. And so, yeah, it's complete ego on his part that's got him in this position. But I wouldn't go as far as to say he's a Josh McDaniels.
Very close. Sounded a lot like it. Brian Tannehill carrying Arthur Smith and Matt LaFleur. These are things that I just never would have thought of, as they both were Tennessee offensive coordinators, as the Titans were good back then. I mean, I don't know. Just thoughts that I'm having.
The Tannehill impact has ripples.
It does. It does. Tannehill underrated. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
All right. We're not here to talk Ryan Tannehill. So, last game of our little appetizer section here. Lions at Chargers. Detroit. They're also a road favorite. Also 1.5 points. Nick, I'll start with you on this one. Talk to us about the Lions versus the Chargers. You accurately called the Chargers beating the Jets on Monday Night Football on your lonely island. So
I did.
Talk to us more.
Yeah, so I'm going opposite direction here. I'm going to pick against against the Chargers, because the Chargers are going to have 6 days rest. Meanwhile, the Lions are coming off a bye, so they're going to be well rested. And Dan Campbell, he gets these guys ready. He's 6-2 when his team has the rest advantage. So with that, the Lions, they're 3-1 against the spread this year on the road, and those Lions fans always travel well. And we've all talked about what SoFi looks like. It's going to be basically a home game for the Lions. So for that, I'm going to take the Lions.
All right, Nick. I'm in agreement with you. I'm taking the Lions. Chargers coming off of a short week against the Jets. I picked the Jets in that game. Like, I have no faith in Brandon Staley or the Chargers. That continues forward. Lions coming off of a bye. I think they'll be prepared for this game. I think they're going to come into SoFi. And then also, I think SoFi is going to be loaded with Detroit fans. Mm-hmm. I think this was the travel game that Detroit fans had circled on their calendar, and they're all fucking traveling to. So, yeah, give me the Lions all day in this one. So, let's check in on Tony Parlay Reyes. He's kicking it Jimmy Buffett style. Tell us why you're taking the Chargers on the island.
I'm over here on the island, backing the Chargers in this game. This one, I don't really like it too much. But I feel like this spread is telling me everything I need to know. 1.5 points, the Chargers at home, the Lions coming off of a bye. Something's off about this. It stinks. I don't like it. I do like that Chargers defense. What I saw them do to the Jets, it's hard because I have that caveat of Zach Wilson, who he doesn't know how to play quarterback. Who cares about that? He just doesn't know how to play quarterback. But
his line sucks. His line is terrible, though.
Yes, they are. 8 sacks on Monday night.
He doesn't know how to play quarterback. Anyways,
I don't know why Aaron Rodgers would be rushing to come back behind that line.
Yeah.
Like that. This is such a small spread. The Chargers defense has been good, and Justin Herbert has been a little bit more aggressive downfield, throwing the ball more. I really worry about Aiden Hutchinson in this game on the Lions' defensive front, but I think the Chargers are pulling this upset. This is one of those ones that doesn't make sense, where the Lions are just too high on their britches, having to go to the West Coast. Somehow the Chargers pull out some nonsense with a field goal and some tipped interception from Jared Goff. But yes, Chargers winning this game. I'm on my lonely island with that one.
Too high in their britches. We haven't talked about the Lions in 2 weeks. Like, nobody's talked about the Lions.
They keep winning games, okay?
All right. That concludes our appetizer games. Let's jump into the meat and potatoes of our Sunday games. We've arrived at the Week 10 main course. First up, San Francisco 49ers at Jacksonville Jags in Duval County. Niners are a road favorite, favored by a field goal in this one. Let's start with you, Mr. Parlay Reyes. Talk to us about Niners versus Jags.
Damn, this is a good game, Chris. Both these teams coming off of a bye. Niners needed a bye in the worst way after their 3-game losing streak. And this Jacksonville team just keeps winning. We're going to get a lot of questions answered in this game. 3-point favorites for the Niners being on the road. I do not like that. I think the Niners are going to eke out this game, though. I think they're still going to win, but I don't think they're going to win by 3. I think they're going to win by less than 3. I think the Jags just aren't there yet on that level. This is going to be their first taste of actually playing like a legitimate contender and being like recognized as a contender. And I think Trevor Lawrence, he's just not on that level yet. He's very, very close, but I think the Niners are going to eke this one out. Defense, experience, Christian McCaffrey. I think I believe left tackle is coming back. I forget his name right now for the Niners. Big deal. He should go ahead and help out Purdy. I think that alone, along with the bye week, I like the Niners to win, but I think Jacksonville keeps it very close. I'm going to go ahead and take Jacksonville to cover the 3 points at home.
Let's be honest here. Let's be honest. I said, just said.
I just remembered it. Sorry. Trent Williams. You're right.
Let's be honest here. Do you see this just being a push?
No. Niners win by 2 points.
2 points. All right.
Yep.
It's a very close game. But, Tony, I'm in agreement with you. I see the Niners either winning this close or Jacksonville winning this game. Like, Jags are good this year. That's the thing, is I can't really deny that. And then, as we always say on this show, you have a West Coast team having to travel East Coast, playing 11 a.m. Well, 11 a.m. Mountain Time for us, 1 p.m. for you weird East Coast people, which is technically 10 a.m. Pacific. Anyways, that's fucking time zones. There's your lesson there. I still think the Jags, like, good team. They're gonna pull this off. I think this is going to be the game where Trevor Lawrence and the Jags finally announce themselves as like, no, like, we're the contenders. I'm the QB that was promised. We've arrived. Yes, I realize Niners are coming off of a bye week, but that just shows how good this Jags team is right now. Another fun fact, Niners 2-2 on the road. Jaguars 2-2 at home. But Jags weirdly have been 4-0 on the road, so they have a weird disadvantage at home, even though they've played, I think, London twice is counted for them as home games, I believe. So, give me the Jags in this one. Let's check in on Mr. Nick Kerr. Oh, he's on the lonely island looking like Prison Mike. Tell us why you're picking the Alcatraz boys from San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys both. The Jags are hot, and they've won 5 in a row. But on the other side, the Niners, they've lost 3-0, but that's mainly been due to injury. and I think that this bye week would definitely going to help them. Trent Williams, yes, and Deebo Samuel are both likely to play on Sunday. Brock Purdy's supposed to be back. So I think with those three on the field, that could present a lot of problems for the Jags defense that hasn't really been able to stop the pass this year. The Jags are giving up 265 yards a game on the pass, which ranks 30th in the NFL. Another thing working for the 49ers is that during that bye week, they added Chase Young. And the Niners pass rush, I know it's been struggling this year, and I think having him on the field should help that. And the final thing that I have is the Jags haven't beat the 49ers in 18 years, and I don't see that drought ending this year.
That makes me even want to pick the Jags even more. All right. Nick with the
Deep
that's why
dive.
we call him Nikipedia. He's got the stats of the day. So I'll ask this. On a scale of, I'd say, 1 to 5 of, hey, it could happen, to complete long shot, 1 over here, 5 over here, Niners, Jags. What's the potential of this being a Super Bowl matchup? Tony?
That's a great question.
That really is.
Great question. So you say 5 is most likely?
Least
1 is
likely.
most likely.
One is
I know
most
I
likely?
fucked that up.
Okay.
One,
All right,
one
all
being
right.
most likely, 5 being least likely.
I think I would say that's probably about a 2, man. A 2. Really close, man. I like that matchup a lot. I could possibly see that. That's a good one.
Okay. Nick?
At this point, I'm a 4, but after this week, it could move up a notch.
Right. Yeah, I was with Nick. I'd say a 4 as of right now. Like I said, I think the Jags are they're a pretender team until they win some big games like this. And so they win this game, I guarantee, like, Jags are going to be one of the top stories on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So
What happens to the Niners if they lose this game, though? Are they just in that Bills conversation? Are we just supposed to recognize them and be like, they have 4
Niners
losses?
start to venture more into that Cowboys media territory of just, I think a lot of people are going to start turning their focus to them of, hey, what's wrong with the Niners? And like, are they a fraud squad? Are they pretenders? And like, does Kyle Shanahan like actually know what he's doing? And we're going to start seeing a lot of records of like, hey, even though he's gone to a Super Bowl, here's Kyle Shanahan's record in the playoffs. And like, I think the media is going to start like, popping up a lot more rocks and looking under them if the Niners win this game, and they're going to, me included, are going to stop taking the Niners at face value and going to have to give a little bit more analysis of just like, okay, like, they aren't these kings that we should have crowned. Like, they're just kind of they're no different than the Seahawks.
Wow, okay.
All
You
right.
agree, Nick?
I don't disagree.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's tough to say that, but I think Billing's spot on, man. They're pretty much the Seahawks if they lose that game. Yeah, you guys are the same team pretty much.
Yeah, like, you're a good team. You're a hard, like, out in terms of if you have to play them. Like, it's going to be a hard win. You're going to have to really battle it out. But, like, at the end of the day, we've said it here on this show. Like, are the Niners, like, a legit Super Bowl contender?
Not looking like it.
Yeah.
They need
They
some
could
wins.
completely turn around when healthy, though. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't count them out yet, because I think that like I said, these
I'm
three
not
losses,
counting them out. Don't
Yeah.
worry there.
This is all your fault, Joe Burrow and the Bengals. We've made this mistake once this season.
I mean, if the Niners go on like a run post Thanksgiving, launch their way into the playoffs, like I think everybody would be like, I still don't want to face them in the playoffs. So, like, yeah, they could lose their next 2 games, and I'd still worry about them down the stretch. But I'm less as high on them of them being a Super Bowl contender, like say the Eagles or the Chiefs, hell, even the Bengals.
So if the Jags win, does that make them a Super Bowl contender in your eyes there?
Yes. Yeah. I think that'll put everyone on notice, for sure.
Nick?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
If listeners watch one of our other episodes, I do have the Jags in one of those 5 teams that the AFC could send to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, everyone's hyping the Bengals after they've beaten the Bills and the Niners, and if the Jags do that same thing, I mean, we have to go ahead and hype them the same way, right? I mean, that's only fair. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, last game of our main course: Texans at Bengals. C.J. Stroud, talk of the town. Bengals bouncing back to look like they're a top AFC team like they have been the last few years. In Cincinnati, Bengals favored by 7 points in this one. I'll start with you, Tony. Talk to us about Texans Bengals and who you have.
7 points is a spread, man. That's a magic number right there. This one feels a lot like it's going to be a push. Definitely does. I really like what I'm seeing from C.J. Stroud. He's looking like one of the best quarterbacks in football, like prime Deshaun Watson. He's just so decisive with the ball, great footwork. And the Bengals coming off great wins, man. They just keep coming off these great road wins. San Francisco and Buffalo, as I was just saying. They're at home again. I don't know, man. I feel like they're going to be overlooking that Texans team like I was talking about earlier when they have to play the Ravens on that upcoming Thursday. 7 points feels like a lot. Feels like it's probably going to be about a push. I feel like it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think the Texans are able to stay in it. I'll be real interested to see what Anarumo, the Bengals defensive coordinator, has cooked up for Stroud. I really haven't seen anything confuse Stroud too much. He really has just been able to make plays happen and make throws that you're not supposed to be able to make as a rookie, but I've been real impressed with him, so I'm going to take the Texans and that 7 points.
All right, Nick?
I mean, I'm right there with you, Tony, because I think that it might be too many points. C.J. Stroud and Joe Burrow have been two of the hottest quarterbacks over the last month. With C.J. Stroud last week, what he did against the Colts, putting up 470 yards, having a quarterback rating of 147.8, it's just ridiculous. The problem is, on the other side, Joe Burrow, over the last 5 weeks, has been arguably the best quarterback in the NFL. He's leading over that 5-week span, he's leading the league in passer rating. He's got 10 touchdowns with a 75% completion percentage over the last 4 games. I think, though, that, like what Tony said, that they may be looking ahead to that Thursday night game and may overlook this. So I think if the Texans can keep it close and get some pressure on Joe Burrow, that this game should be closer than one score.
All right, I guess I'm on my lonely island with this one. I'm going with Cincinnati outright. Another game that I called for C.J. Stroud. I picked the Panthers, beating him. I was just like, this is a classic rookie, just kind of buzzsaw game where all the expectations are for you to win and for your opponent to not show up, and it usually never works out for rookies. This is another one where you're going up against an actual contender in your conference, an actual legit QB in your conference, and I think it's just going to be one of those back to reality games for the Texans. I'm not saying the Texans are a bad team. It's just this is going to be one of those kind of benchmark games of just like, all right, rookie, like, great. You had a good one against the Colts, but like these are the big boys. These are the guys that are going to the show, and here's how it goes. And so yeah, I think it's probably going to get out of hand fast for the Texans in this one. I see them losing by double digits in this one. Also, I think just all the praise that C.J. Stroud's getting this week, like, it does affect players. Like, you can say like, oh, I don't listen to that all you want, but like, I'm sure C.J. Stroud is like high on life right now. Like, that's just the human condition of like, like he probably feels like, oh, I've arrived after last week. Like people are talking about me as an elite QB. Like that shit just it does eat away at your brain and whatnot. And so like he has some learning experiences he has to go through. And for me this season, this is gonna be hard lesson number 2 for CJ Stroud and the Texans going up against the Bengals. So yeah, give me Joe Burrow in this one. All right, that was our meat and potato games. Okay, folks. So final thoughts before we get out of here. Want to wish everyone we want to wish our veterans a happy Veterans Day. This episode's coming out on Veterans Day, so I hope you all have a great Saturday. Enjoy it. Shout out to Nicholas J. Kerr, who served for us as well. Coast Guard veteran, right next to us. So thank you, sir. Thank you to all the vets out there. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you for your service. We appreciate it. Christopher Billings, veteran Nicholas J. Kerr, Tony Parlay Reyes. Hope everyone has a great football weekend. Check us out for our Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football picks.
Thanks for watching the Sports Buds. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe.